When I looked, there was ladies pushing strollers, several people walking, running, and I remember thinking, I'm gonna hurry up and go to the bathroom real quick.
I walked out of my apartment. I was just walking to my car. I heard something, and by the time I turned my head, he was already right there behind me.
He grabbed me and started pounding my face. And I remember thinking that if I didn't look at him, then he wouldn't kill me. Because that was all my kids had.
He put a knife to my throat. It didn't register that I was fixing to get raped. It was, I'm fixing to die.
One of the great things about this project is being able to work with these victims and these local police officers to bring some closure to some of these unsolved cases. Studies tell us that over 200,000 sexual assaults happen in America in a year, and only 2% of those lead to convictions.
And I think in a sexual assault, one of the most important things for a victim to do is something that they have to do immediately, which is go and get the sexual assault exam.
If we have any hope of recovering DNA evidence, it's going to be in those hours that follow that they go to the hospital.
Physical evidence collected from a victim after a sexual assault is called a rape kit. And while these kits may contain DNA belonging to the attacker, there are many reasons these kits go untested.
A lot of these really smaller agencies can't get their kits tested. Either there's such a backlog at their state crime lab, or they just lack the funds.
Right, the big cities were able to get some grants and money from the federal government to help clear up their backlogs, but a lot of the smaller cities just weren't able to access any of those funds. So we're able to come in and do some testing and really give these officers some of the answers they need to get started.
So we're really going to focus this week on two cases. One happened in 1991, one happened in 1999. I think what's so shocking about these cases is these are women doing average everyday things. Marilyn, the 1999 case, was jogging after work in the middle of the morning, and she was attacked when she stopped for a restroom break. And then we're also going to work on a case where Melissa was walking to her car in her parking lot of her apartment complex. She was threatened at knife point and taken to an abandoned apartment.
It could have happened to anyone, anywhere, in any place in America.
It's just terrifying. You think you're safe jogging through a park or walking through your own parking lot, and you're not.
Something that's always driven me in this line of work is helping the victim. I know it's very rewarding for them to know that somebody's working on their case. They want that justice, and I would love nothing more than to be able to bring that here to Lake Charles.
Every single rape kit represents a person waiting for answers.
The biggest reason we're doing this is to bring these survivors some justice. Lieutenant.
How are you doing? Kevin Kirkham.
Nice to meet you, Kevin Casey Garrett.
Alicia
O'Neill.
O'Neill. Nice to meet you.
How long have you been with Lake Charles?
27 and a half years.
Oh my gosh.
I've been working in sex crimes about 7 years. Come on back.
Great.
I did work robbery and homicide, and all of it is real tragic. But to imagine being assaulted and having to live with that, that gives me a rewarding feeling when I can help a living victim.
Hey, Jesse.
How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Working on more than one case at a time can be a little difficult. The hardest thing is to keep everybody in line with each particular case.
Hey there.
Hey, good morning.
Detective Atkinson, how long have you been with the police department?
Almost 17 years now.
Okay.
I do domestic abuse, anything sexual assault.
So you did some work on Marilyn's case?
Yes, I did.
Do you mind if we get some stuff up on the board
Sure.
and pick your brain some more? Okay. So this is Marilyn. Offense date.
October 5th, 99. She was out at the Civic Center jogging that morning in broad daylight.
Stopped for a restroom break.
Correct.
She didn't indicate he had any type of weapon. It was just
No,
force.
just force.
Okay. All right. So, is that a place where people jog?
Yes,
Is there
we
a
have
trail?
a
Yes.
boardwalk and
Okay, so that wasn't unusual then.
that wasn't
Okay.
unusual.
She was a nurse at the hospital at Memorial. She had gotten off of her shift and then went down to the Civic Center to run.
She ends up just driving herself back to the same hospital that she worked at.
Correct.
A lot of times in stranger rapes, where the victim does not know the attacker, the little details in the victim's account can be invaluable leads for the investigator.
Marilyn, this is Lieutenant Kirkland.
And as hard as this is, it's really important when Marilyn sits down with Lieutenant Kirkham and Detective Atkinson that she give them as much detail as possible.
Marilyn, do you remember the day?
I was working nights at Lake Charles Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
A friend of mine, we had decided we'd start running together. And this particular day, we were just slammed. She said, "I'm tired, I'm going home." And I said, "Well, you know, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do a short run." When I drove up, there was ladies pushing strollers, there was small kids walking, they were planting trees at the Civic Center. All the way along, there was people there. It felt safe to me, so I got out of my car, locked my car, and then I just started trotting like along the seawall. So when I got near the bathroom, I said, "Oh my gosh, you know, all that coffee I had last night, let me run in there real quick." And I just remember going in there and I went to the sink. And it was just like in a split second, this guy came charging in. I think he put this hand over my mouth and I bit him. And when I bit this hand, he took the other one and I felt my nose pop. He got on top of me and just both fists just pounded, pounded, pounded. So.
That's horrible.
And actually, I felt bad for biting the guy because I'm not a violent person. And I kept thinking if I didn't look at him, that he wouldn't kill me because I had 4 babies at home. And then the next thing I knew, he grabbed me some kind of way and he threw me like really hard. I landed between the toilet and the wall. He grabbed my waist and he pulled my leggings down. And I remember him saying, "You're gonna like this." That's the first time he spoke. And I felt him against me, like warm, like skin to skin. I remember thinking, okay, if you're gonna do this to me, then I'm gonna get a good look at you. And I remember turning my face and looking straight at him, and when I did, I was bleeding and I couldn't swallow. And I just remember just like I could not breathe. And he said, "Oh God, I can't do this. You need to go to the hospital. Wait right here, I'll get my truck." Like he was gonna bring me to the hospital or something.
Crazy.
I got up immediately and ran out the door and I drove to Lake Charles Memorial. People kept saying, "What happened?" I said, I was just attacked. At no point did I ever say it was attempted rape because I felt ashamed. And there was a police officer that came in and I remember he made everybody leave the room and he said, "First thing I'm gonna tell you is this is not your fault. You didn't do it, you didn't cause it." He said, "I want you to tell me what really happened." And so I did. And I just remember crying and crying, and I said, "Well, he did get my pants down, but he didn't rape me, he stopped." And I said, "That's what really happened." He had really sky blue, like the color of your shirt, blue eyes. This guy had on a light-colored shirt, and he had like a reddish colored tags above on both sides, Probably one was a company and one was a name, is my guess.
She's an incredible lady.
Oh, good memory.
Incredible memory, very articulate.
The report reads is you don't know if they made penetration or not.
I'm telling you, I feel like I would know that because I had not been sexually active in years.
We're going to treat it like a sexual assault. And until the lab tells us something differently,
Right.
then that's what we're going to do.
And I want to know.
And you want to know.
I do. I absolutely want to know.
While the team still searches for leads in Marilyn's case, Lieutenant Kirkham sits down with Melissa, who was attacked more than 20 years ago, and her rapist has never been found.
Somebody put a knife to my throat. I never saw his face.
I pray with every ounce of my being that no one I know ever has to experience what I did.
Hi,
Nice to meet
Casey.
you.
It's nice to meet you too.
So we're so excited to be able to work on your case.
It was really hard for me to decide to do it, but I just feel like if it just helps one person, it's worth it.
One of the things that we're doing is having the DNA tested.
We really wanted to make sure that we tested everything that could possibly have his DNA on it.
We want to always be realistic. It's a long shot in your particular case if there's no semen. I was incredibly affected by your comment in your interview about how being a mother, you were like, I can't die here.
Right,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
I think the absolute hardest moment for me was telling my kids, because I was a single mom with small kids. You know, I was all they had.
What was life like for you after the attack?
I think, you know, for kids to see their mom go through that, it was hard.
Sure, it's
there were
unsettling.
lots of things that we had to work through together, but we did it, and it was okay, and I think we're better because of it, so.
Did you ever continue to run after that?
You know, it's funny, but I quit. Decided, you know what, I never was a runner, and I started this, and I probably shouldn't be. But then I went back. It was my 10-year anniversary of, you know, it had been 10 years. And I actually ran right past the bathroom. That was the finish line right there.
Isn't that something?
It was very much like, see, I did it anyway.
After hearing such a heart-wrenching account of what happened to Marilyn, we're ready to get started on this investigation. We have an unknown suspect, white male, 5'7", medium build.
Late 20s to early 30s?
Okay. Brown hair.
She said blue eyes, didn't she?
That's what sticks out the most to her. There's something about the eyes.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
And I think that at one point they had a composite done, and I'm not sure where those things are.
Lake Charles Police Department lost many documents when Hurricane Rita hit the city very hard in 2005. If we can locate that composite sketch that Marilyn did of her attacker, it would really be a great help if we can find it. One of the most significant descriptors, of course, is that uniform shirt. All right, well, we are waiting on DNA results, right? They've got the fingernail scrapings and the oral swab.
Yeah, we sent everything.
Okay. And we believe that there was some type of sexual contact, but unknown penetration.
Because DNA evidence is really a long shot in Marilyn's case, we're gonna have to use Marilyn's description of the attacker and what he was wearing to help find this guy and bring him to justice.
You know, the nurse who gave the sexual assault kit to the officers was named Tammy Bailey, so I'm wondering if she was the SANE nurse at the time, or maybe the...
She is actually our head SANE nurse now. She's the one that started the same program here.
A sexual assault nurse examiner, or a SANE, is specially trained to handle the care of a rape victim.
Tammy.
Hi.
How are you?
At the time of Marilyn's attack, the hospital in Lake Charles didn't have a SANE program yet.
After reviewing the police officer's notes, do you remember Marilyn?
Yes.
So Tammy, an emergency room nurse, did the rape kit in Marilyn's case.
After a case like this, I've thought to myself, you know, we need to raise the standard of care here. And within a year, I was in training and doing clinicals to make sure that this program evolved.
You know, one of the really great things that you did in the case, in Marilyn's case, was take fingernail scrapings from her. You also did swabbings of her hands. I don't know if that's something you guys always did back in '99 or not.
Now we do fingernail swabs because sometimes with the scraping, you would get some of the patient's own cells. And
Tammy was incredibly thorough in her examination of Marilyn. And if we do get DNA evidence in this case, it's going to be because of her efforts.
You have your driver's license on you?
We all believe that Marilyn's attack was a stranger rape, but there's a chance that it could have been somebody that had interacted with her or had been following her prior to the attack. So we're going to talk to some of her friends from that time and see if anybody remembers anyone matching that description.
White male, 5'7", 150 to 180 pounds, light brown hair, blue eyes.
No.
The man had a little beard or mustache, trimmed up real nicely.
No, honestly, not that I can recall.
We're really hoping to find the composite that Marilyn did, which we think was lost during the hurricane.
I have another stack.
So we're going through other composite sketches to see if we can determine who the sketch artist was.
Okay, I found a sketch with somebody's name on it from '99.
Debbie Brasso, Lafayette SO Forensic Artist. Hello, Ms. Brasso, I don't know if you remember me, but I think you did a couple of composites for me, a sexual assault case from 1999.
Okay, what's the victim's name?
Marilyn.
I'll have to get in my box and go through it. I checked all my drawings, and in fact, the other day I looked at it and I thought, I can probably start getting rid of those, and then I thought, nah, better not.
Thank you.
I'll give you all a call back. Okay, bye-bye.
Almost getting ready to get rid of it.
Yeah, glad she didn't. While investigators continue working on Marilyn's case, we're going to focus on Melissa, who was raped in a vacant apartment. Very pretty girl. What was the date of the offense again?
10/20/91. She was 21 years old at the time of the incident.
Melissa was attacked 20 years ago, but her rapist has never been found.
What we're going to do is we're just going to start by just let you go through it, tell me what happened.
I remember going out that night. It was Wendy's birthday that we went out for.
Okay.
It was Derek, Lisa, Wendy, and Reggie. And then there was another friend, Stacy. But he wasn't always around. He was just every once in a while. I left early to come home because I was going to see somebody that worked at Memorial Hospital. He worked the night shift.
So when you get to the apartment, how long are you there before you leave again?
In my mind, it's probably 2 or 3 when I'm leaving. I walked out of my apartment. You know, I was just walking to my car, and I heard something to my right. Somebody came up from behind me and put a knife to my throat. I didn't have time to run. It didn't register that I was fixing to get raped. It was, I'm fixing to die. We went into what looked like a back porch, back patio. I do remember seeing that. And the only reason why I knew that it was a black man was because my eyes were not covered at this time, and he tried to open the sliding glass door. And I saw his hand. The next thing I remember is being down on my knees, and then it was all fours.
Do you recall how you got down on your knees? Whether he just told you and you got down, or if he forced you?
I think he probably told me. I don't remember him. I'm sorry, I just don't.
That's okay. While you were on all fours, is that when he made penetration?
Mm-hmm. Afterwards, he told me to count to 10 before I could come out of the patio, and he took off. He told me if I called the police, he would come back and kill me. I never saw his face. He was behind me the entire time. I went back into the apartment and woke my roommate, Wendy, up. I was hysterical. She was, you know, asking me questions, and I just immediately ran to the bathroom to wash. I just wanted to take a shower. And she was on with 911, and they said, don't take a shower. I've kept it quiet, kept it to myself, a lot of it. He took something from me that I didn't say he could have. He's gone on with his life. And I'm stuck with this haunting me.
You got anything that you think that you can tell us that you didn't?
I can't remember. I just wish I could see it.
Melissa's really hard on herself for not being able to remember more. I'm Casey Garrett.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
I'm Alicia O'Neill.
Alicia and I want to reassure her that she did a great job, and we feel that she remembered a lot.
It's common for victims to come back in a cold case like this and have a hard time remembering details.
Now she's agreed to take us back to the apartment complex where she and her roommate live. I'm in here, you guys go with LT, and walk us through what happened.
You did great in the interview. It's really hard to talk about something that you've tried to not think about for many years. Did you ever go to any counseling or anything like that after this?
I did some counseling. I went to a couple rape crisis meetings here in Lake Charles. I felt like I didn't belong there because a lot of the women were violently raped or they knew who it was, and I didn't have a clue. I just felt like I didn't belong, and so I didn't go anymore.
I mean, you know, though, you were the victim of a very violent sexual assault. I mean, somebody put a knife to your throat.
Counseling can be an invaluable part of the healing process for any rape survivor.
Just let us know if this gets too hard, okay?
Even though Melissa didn't feel like it was for her in the past, I hope that she does feel comfortable talking to someone now if she feels like she needs it.
It was right in this area. Oh my gosh.
It's obviously pretty hard for Melissa to come back to this crime scene. I really admire her courage, and I hope she understands how strong and brave she's being.
Did he pull you back
This way.
this
Yeah,
way?
I remember going this way.
Okay.
Did it feel like a long distance or a short distance?
It did. It felt like a long distance.
So this might have been all woods because comes to the back of the apartment complex here.
I think it was that patio. There was light on inside. That's how I knew that it was empty.
So you would have just basically exited that last patio and then run all the way back around this direction through where the laundromat was and back to your apartment?
Right.
Okay.
It really seems to me like Melissa's attacker might have been familiar with this apartment complex because he knew to take her back around there to that vacant apartment.
Wendy is my best friend, and she's remained my best friend. I met Wendy when I think I was 18.
Hey, Lieutenant Kirkland.
Wendy was my rock through it all.
I was inside the apartment, and I remember her coming inside the apartment, hysterically crying, makeup running. She was devastated. She was violated. She was, you know.
Okay, what did she tell you?
She said he raped me.
And your first question would have been, who?
Yeah.
Can you recall, did she speculate it might have been somebody she knew or anything?
Yeah.
Do you remember who she said it?
Stacy.
Some guy named Stacy?
Yeah.
Wow.
She did?
She said yeah.
Although Wendy is certain that Melissa named Stacy as a suspect the night of the incident, there's no indication from past reports that Melissa had suggested a suspect at all.
Well, he hung out sorta, kinda with us, with the kind of the group that we hung out with. He was like a friend of theirs.
Try to hit on y'all or anything like that?
Oh, everybody hit on me. She was cute. I mean, he tried to go out with her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We've got to verify all this Stacy stuff with Melissa. Okay. We need to ask Melissa about this acquaintance named Stacy. If she thinks he could have been involved, then he'll become a suspect.
Would you be surprised to hear that Wendy told us that the first thing that you told her was you were attacked and he raped me, and her question was who, and you said Stacy. You don't recall that?
Yeah, the only thing I can remember that made me think of Stacy was because he was short and stocky. He was shorter than I, or might have been right at the same height as me, and he was stocky.
In the police report, she does state that she thought her attacker was 5'3". That's very short and very specific. We need to know more about Stacy's physical description.
You thought it was Stacy only because of his size and stature.
Well, not only because, but every time we would go out, he was always hitting on me, trying to hook up, and I would not do it. Wasn't interested at all. That night at the club, he tried to hook up, and I said no. He did get angry that night.
That was pretty interesting that he got angry.
Yeah, very.
Although Melissa is in no way certain, her thoughts about Stacy right after the attack, plus the fact that we now know that he's only listed as 5'6" on his driver's license, which makes him very similar to the height that she's always suggested, means we really can't ignore him as a suspect, and we need to get a buckle swab from Stacy.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you.
I'm Detective Atkinson. This is Lieutenant Kirkland. Does Stacy live here?
Yeah, he's my husband.
We're working on a case. His name came up, and we just need to talk with him.
What's it about?
The case? I can't tell you. It's a cold case.
She's in Ohio.
in Ohio. You know how to get in touch with him? Or?
Yeah, well, when we have him to call you, that would probably be better.
Oh, that's fine.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Hello. How you doing, Stacy? Hello. How you doing, Stacy?
Stacy was obviously very interested in why Lieutenant Kirkham was calling him because he called us just moments after we talked to his wife.
We're working a cold case, sexual assault, back from 1991. It's concerning a friend of yours, a girl by the name of Melissa. You know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't know the name right off.
Anyway, we don't expect anybody to be in trouble, but as part of the investigation, we like to do some elimination tests. When you come back into town, do you think I might be able to get an elimination sample from you so we can move on to the next person?
What is it? What type of case is it? Assault charge?
Yes, sir. It's an assault charge.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, no problem.
All right, I appreciate you calling so quick.
Okay, man.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Cool. So he said he would do it, huh?
Yeah.
I hope Stacy does follow through and come in and give a sample of his DNA. But you just never know. I've seen a lot of people say that they're gonna rush right down and do it and just never show up.
So while we're waiting for Stacy to come in and talk to investigators on Melissa's case, we're going to focus our attention on Marilyn's case, where she gave a very specific description of a uniform shirt that the attacker was wearing. We're going to visit some companies in the area to see if maybe they manufactured or rented out a uniform that matches Marilyn's description.
They're working a cold case here in control where someone would have worn, maybe the old light blue white. There's a lot of folks that could have had that. Lewis uniform? I can't remember.
Did the city ever contract with anybody that, because of the fact that it was at the Civic.
Uniforms, but it's not that.
But there's nothing like that. That's what these guys said.
A light green or a light blue so it had the red patches on it. You remember anybody around that time?
Nobody that worked here in the building. The uniform is not familiar at all.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating to have like a description of clothing and not be able to place it.
The search for the possible uniform was really a dead end. The good news is there may be some progress in the search for the composite sketch in Marilyn's case.
Miss Brasso has contacted me back and actually emailed me the sketch so we can put it up on the board and kind of go over it.
Great. White male, late 20s, 5'5" to 5'7", 150, light brown hair and blue eyes. This sketch could really be important in Marilyn's case because if we run out of leads, Lieutenant Kirkham can use the sketch to ask for the public's help.
I know we're really hoping to hear from the lab today, and I'm hoping that they're able to give us some information about those fingernail scrapings in Marilyn's case.
To be realistic, without any genetic material under her fingernail scrapings, I'm not sure where we do go from here.
I think at that point we're at a place where we're asking the public for help. I think we're showing the composite to the public, talking about the details of the offense and the specific traits of this offender, and asking them to help us identify this guy. Although we're hopeful we'll get conclusive results in Marilyn's case from a rape kit, based on her description of the attack, it's unlikely that we're gonna get the traditional kind of DNA results we would expect. So we'll most likely have to rely on the public's help if we want to solve this case.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Miles, we was hoping you might have something for us today.
Okay, so our fingernail scrapings, left-hand fingernail scrapings, it's a low-level profile. It looks to be degraded. There's not a great amount of information from it. Looks a lot like her profile, but it's really too low for us to say much about it. The one profile that we obtained that has probative value is from a swab, what is labeled a left-hand swab. It was from the frozen packet that was submitted along with the sexual assault kit.
Okay.
We obtained pretty much a single-source male profile from that swab.
Wow. That is unbelievable news, Miles.
Wow.
I can't tell you how thrilled we are.
It was a surprise to us as well. It's a very good profile.
Thank you, Miles.
Thank you.
We appreciate the work.
Thanks.
I did not expect.
Not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all.
This is huge news in Marilyn's case. I mean, it's something we hoped for, but certainly didn't expect. This means we can load the profile taken from the swab on Marilyn's hand into the National CODIS database and hope for a hit on an offender.
That's your bad guy right there. I think you're coming for him. You know everything about him except for his name.
The most important thing is to know that this isn't your fault. You have to know that it's not your fault and you didn't ask for it. You didn't do anything.
Hey, Mr. Miles Robichaud, this is Lieutenant Kirkham. How you doing?
We have a call with the lab this morning about the DNA in Melissa's case, and we're hoping for some good news.
All right, can I put you on speakerphone?
Police got a buccal swab from Melissa's former friend Stacy and sent that on to the crime lab for comparison.
So in Melissa's case, we obtained a foreign male component to a vaginal swab that we processed. And we have excluded Stacy from the profile that we obtained from the vaginal swab. So he is excluded. Also, we have searched that male component in both the state database and the national database, and we have not gotten the CODIS maps to that profile.
Melissa's attack happened in 1991, which is before CODIS even existed. It's possible that Melissa's attacker is sitting in a prison somewhere and that the state's laws just haven't resulted in his profile being loaded into CODIS yet.
However, the profile has been entered into the database.
So it'll remain there, and if and when potential offenders' DNA is added, then there would be a hit.
That's correct.
Great. Having a full male DNA profile loaded into CODIS that can be constantly compared to any new offender that's added to that database is a huge step forward in Melissa's case.
Good to see you both.
How are you?
Look at your haircut.
But I still know that this isn't the news she was hoping for, and it's going to be difficult to hear.
Well, we had some information we wanted to give you. They were able to get the swab from Stacy, and they did send it off to the lab, and he was excluded as the contributor. And we do have the male profile. Right now, there's not currently an offender in the database that matches that profile. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get that we're never going to get an answer. I mean, that's still possible.
Right.
I wish we had a different answer for you. But you needed an answer one way or the other about him.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, truly am in my heart happy that it wasn't him because I didn't want, you know, I mean, it would just tear his family up, and I didn't want that. So I am glad about that. But I'm very sad for me because I wanted to know who it was.
Yeah,
you know, it excuse my language, but it pisses me off that I have gone all this time not knowing who it is, and this person is going on with his life, and you know, I don't know, it just it pisses me off.
I don't blame you. But I really mean this when I say there's hope.
It stays in the system, and anytime an offender is added in, it'll be run against that. You're just waiting for this guy to mess up and get added into that database. Now we want to go after the real bad guy. And that's what Kirkham will do. He never gives up. That guy.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all y'all have done. I want to help other women. I have hope that somebody might have a similar case to mine. Hopefully, I have encouraged them to come forward.
You're going to be the vision of a strong survivor for somebody out there.
Somebody's been attacked and is sitting in a corner somewhere thinking
afraid to come forward, a young person like you were.
I think what I would tell any survivor out there is that find the power within you to move forward, and don't let this incident control you.
We're dying to hear what you have to say, Miles. We've got another call this morning with the lab to give us an update on Marilyn's DNA, which has already been loaded into CODIS.
All right, so the Marilyn case, that profile has matched to an offender in the national database.
Oh my God.
That is shocking.
Yeah, so the individual's name is Austin Mott. This is a Texas offender, by the way. And the qualifying offense that I have is aggravated sexual assault.
Oh, imagine that.
Yep. A qualifying offense is what got the suspect loaded into CODIS in the first place, which means that Marilyn's suspected rapist is most likely already serving time for a similar crime.
Okay, so Austin Mott is eligible for parole in 2 years, so this will be a good thing to...
Oh, that's good timing. What county was his conviction out of?
Newton County in 2002. It almost borders Lake Charles.
Oh, yeah, it sure does.
What we know is that there is some male component to that vaginal swab. We could see it as part of our process. We just couldn't detect it because there was so much female DNA that it was overpowering the male component. So we used YSTR analysis that basically looks at just the male component in a sample.
The thing about that, Miles, is that she wasn't sure if she was penetrated.
We've got a male YSTR profile that matches, you know, from the left-hand swab and the vaginal swab.
I know that Marilyn was hoping that she wasn't penetrated, but, you know, it does answer that question. This is really hard because even though it is great news in terms of the prosecution, I just know that it's going to be hard for Marilyn personally.
That was such great thinking on y'all's part to go ahead and do that YSTR testing.
Miles, thank you. Your work has just been so phenomenal on these cases. We cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Miles. Bye-bye. I cannot believe this.
I just wanted to be able to tell her who did it to her, and now we can.
Oh, man, this is awesome. Yeah, this is so great. This meeting with Marilyn is bittersweet because on the one hand, we have the best possible news to give to Marilyn. We found her attacker. But what is so gut-wrenching for us to tell her is that one of the things that she has believed all of these years and that has comforted her is really not true.
I hope I can keep it together.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. This is
One of the
Lauren.
other daughters.
Lauren.
Yes, Lauren. Casey, nice to meet you. Thank you for being here with her. We're so thankful that she's got such supportive daughters. How have you been feeling?
Honestly, really anxious. Like I'm ready to find an end to the story. When I was first asked if I'd do this, I was like, oh, it's been 15 years, no big deal. But it has actually brought up a lot of anxiety.
Well, we've got some really amazing news. We got the information from the lab. They have now run it, okay? And we got a hit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We know who it is. He's been in prison for 13 years because unfortunately he raped another woman in 2002, but he got 30 years. So he's been in a Texas prison since then. His name is Austin Mott. He's actually eligible for parole in 2 years.
Where's he from? What was he doing in Lake Charles?
Well, the second rape happened in Newton County.
Which is just right on the other side of Lake Charles in Texas.
I can't believe this is like real. Like I absolutely cannot believe it.
A couple other things that I want to tell you that's difficult, but important. They were able to develop some male DNA from a vaginal swab. I know you didn't want that to be the truth, for obvious reasons, but it helps in the prosecution.
It's what's gonna keep this man in prison, Marilyn. It is. It's gonna keep him from doing this to anyone else.
I don't know, I guess that's kind of been my coping mechanism for a whole lot of years. And I'm just shocked.
I think she said it like 10 times. But I know he didn't rape me. She said it like a bunch. I know. So I just...
Yeah, every time I've left, I've called and told her that.
It's a lot to digest.
You know, you told us that when you go places, sometimes you wonder if he's around or if he's there, and this tells you he's not.
He's in prison. We know exactly where he is every day.
This Newton County victim, you know, in 2 years, she's probably going to start worrying about whether or not she's going to get a letter from the parole board about his possible release.
Right.
Right? But that ain't ever going to happen now. And that's because you participated in this, you know.
I still have a lot of this to process, but I'm ready to process it and move forward. You know, I want to go back to biking and living and he can't hurt my babies.
That's right.
None of them.
Or anybody else's.
That's right. And because of that, it was so worth doing all of this. I just feel like I can see God's hand all over this. And I'm positive beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is all part of a healing process.
I have a lot along the heart for you and your family.
I think the biggest thing is to find somebody and tell your story. Don't hold it in. Because even if it didn't end the way mine did, by telling your story, you can still heal. You can help other people heal, because you never know who's listening and who that will impact.